You say? Perfect. Good evening, everybody. We'd like to welcome you to the City of Hermantown Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for November 16th, 2021. It is currently 7 o'clock in the evening. We're going to start this evening with a roll call of members. Corey Colquist is not here. Valerie Rolette.
Here.
Samuel Clark.
Here.
Shannon Sweeney Jorgensen.
Here.
Beth Wensloff.
Here.
Buckley Simmons.
Here.
And Counselor Geisler.
Here.
Thank you very much. Second up this evening is an approval of this evening's agenda. Can I get a motion, please?
Sam Clark, I motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Thank you for that. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you for that. For a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Third this evening is the approval of the minutes from the September 21st, 2021 regular meeting. Can I get a motion on that, please?
So moved to approve.
Thank you for that. Can I get a second?
Sam Clark with the second to approve.
Thank you for that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Number 4, public discussion. Is there anybody here this evening to speak on anything that's not already on our agenda? Not seeing any, we'll move on to number 5, which is the first of public hearings. We have 5A. It's an application by Maurice Barrage for a special use permit for operation of a vehicle impound lot at 4918 Lightning Drive. The property is located in a BLM business and light manufacturing zoning district. Eric, what do you have for us this evening?
Great, thank you very much. The applicant is proposing to purchase, and I believe the purchase agreement is getting ready to finalize the purchase. But the property, which is located at 4918 Lightning Drive, this is a Gopher News building, if any of you are familiar with the city's industrial park. He plans on relocating his existing towing business to this property. The applicant owns NASCAR Towing, which had previously been operating out of 4803 Miller Trunk Highway until that property was sold earlier this year. What the applicant is proposing to do is to fence a portion of the existing gravel surface in the parking lot to provide a secure storage area for the towed vehicles. The proposed location is up in the northwest portion of the site, which is underneath the existing power lines, approximately 7,000 square feet in size. The parking and fencing are allowed under this power line easement area, however, no buildings will ever be. This is very similar to the city's impound lot, which is located approximately 800 feet to the west. The city operates a small impound lot at that location there. The applicant is proposing to use the existing building for storage of his own vehicles as well as some office space associated with that. The reason this is before us this evening as a special use permit is because this is being designated as parking as a primary use with that use of the impound lot. So that does require an SUP under the business light manufacturing zoning district. But once again, this is a similar use to what is already in that industrial park, not only from the towing and impound lot standpoint, but also potential use of that building for office space and storage.
Thank you very much for that, Eric. Commission members, any questions or comments for Eric on this at this time?
Eric, I just had one question, Sam here. With the option A and B for the fence, does that have any correlation to the special use permit?
No, it does not. Basically, what that does do more is that gets into our stormwater permit, because the way it's set up is under a stormwater ordinance, if you increase your impervious surface area, whether it's paving, whether it's gravel, that starts triggering stormwater requirements to treat the stormwater. So it doesn't, the size doesn't really fall into it, because still the parking is still a primary use for this property.
Thank you for that. Commission members, any other questions or comments for Eric? We're going to open up the floor for public discussion. Does anybody this evening have anything to say about 5A on our agenda? By any chance is the applicant here? Would you like to address this at all? Thank you very much, sir. Once again, is anybody here to speak on 5A this evening? Not seeing any, we'll close the public hearing for this at 7:05 p.m. Commission members, any other questions or comments for Eric?
I have a conflict on this because I am involved in this property, so I will recuse myself. This one.
Thank you very much, Beth. I look for a motion this evening on 5A.
I'd move to approve this Willett.
Valerie with the first. Can we get a second?
Simmons to second.
Buckley with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you very much, sir. 5B this evening is an application by Miller Creek Property Investments for a special use permit for the operation of a lawn and garden material supplies business. The property is located at 5350 Miller Trunk Highway and is located in a C1 Office Light Industrial Zoning District. Eric, what do you have for us on this one?
Great, thank you.
And Chair Peterson, before you send it over to Eric, there's a request from online. Eric, can you make sure your microphone's on and speak right into it? All the commissioners are a little tough to pick up except for Joe. Thanks.
Great, thank you. I apologize for that. What's before us this evening, this is a special use permit for a contractor shop and storage yard / a lawn and garden material supplies. It's located in the C1 Office Light Industrial Zoning District. The applicant Miller Creek Property Investment purchased the old do bid building earlier this summer for the purposes of relocating their existing lawn and landscape business, which had previously been located at 4818 Swan Lake Road. This is known as Miller Creek Lawn and Landscape, which had been there for a number of years. The applicant's business model has changed over the years. Originally, when they're at 4818, they offered retail sales as part of that site. They have since moved on from that, and now it's primarily a contractor-based business where they're working directly with businesses and homeowners for the installation of the landscape materials at that point. So really, the only traffic that they get in there is more clients coming in to meet with them about designs versus members of the public driving into the site to buy materials that way. This is still looking at a way to, for the permit purposes for the SUP, the contractor shop, there is storage and materials on this property. These are located primarily in the rear of the property. There's garden based supplies there, plant material, mulch, soils, etc. Those are located quite a bit back off the roadway surface. Primarily the use of the main building, that's more for office space. The applicant has done quite a bit of landscaping. They just recently paved their front parking lot area associated with this. So they've been doing quite a bit of investment in this property, really turning it almost more into an office type of use that way. As part of this, one thing they looked into earlier this summer was the idea of the rental storage pods. If you drive by this facility, there's approximately 25 essential pods that are located out there. Those are, I believe, about 4 by 8 in size. I mean, some might be 8 by 12. The purpose of those are those for rental only, that the person may be moving. They have the ability to rent one of these things from Miller Creek Property Investments. Miller Creek would then deliver that to their site, and they house all the material, or basically that pod at the person's residence that way. There's no on-site storage of materials there. They also bring these to different job sites. Contractors can use those for storage of materials, once again, on their site that way. So that's strictly a rental business. It is not a mini storage business associated with it. So what we're looking for this afternoon or this evening is a special use permit for the purposes of that contractor shop and storage yard, as well as that lawn and garden material supplies building.
Thank you very much for that, Eric. Commission members, any questions for Eric on this evening so far?
Sam Clark, no questions.
Thank you, Sam.
I appreciated the fact that it said that they can't be stacked. That will keep it cleaner, safer, and I think that's a good good way to do that.
For sure. And how I understood it was those containers don't come back full to this site. They just stay where they are till they're emptied and come back. So that's why it's not a mini storage.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Commission members, any other questions?
No questions, Simmons.
Not at this time?
No.
We'll open up the floor at 7:09 PM. Does anybody have anything to say on this matter this evening? If you do, please come on up and state your name and address for the record.
I believe the applicant is online with our Zoom forum tonight.
Gotcha.
Yes, I'm here. If anybody has any questions.
Hi there, commission members. Any questions for the applicant this evening?
No questions.
No.
Nothing here.
I don't believe we have any for you, sir.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Once again, anybody in the public want to speak on this matter this evening? Not seeing any, we'll close the public hearing at 7:10 PM for 5B. We're looking for a motion on an application by Miller Creek Property Investments for a special use permit this evening.
Willett, I move to approve.
Valerie with the first, can we get a second?
Simmons to second.
Buckley with a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to 5C this evening. It's an application by Brian and Marilee Malik for a subdivision to create a 110-foot wide parcel of 2 acres and a 7.1 acre lot assessed by the way of a flag lot of 79 foot in width at 4008 Stebner Road. The property is located in an R3 zoning district. Eric, what do you have for us on this one?
Great, thank you. This is a flag lot application, once again, at this 4008 Stebner Road. The applicant owns a 9.1 acre property. It's extremely deep. Like I said, it's approximately 180 feet along Stebner Road. And the entire property is well over 800 feet in depth that way. So actually, I apologize, it's over 1,200 feet deep that way. So what they're proposing is, we've had a number of these before us, the flag lot applications. Is they're looking to create 2 parcels. One being the parent parcel, which the existing home would be on. That's a parcel of 110 feet by 467. So it's a little over 2 acres associated with that. And then that flag lot would be located in the southern portion of that property. It's accessed by way of a 79 foot by 467 foot, basically pole portion of the flag lot, how I like to describe it, that would contain the driveway and the utilities. And then the actual building pad area is 331 by 822. So it entirely is about 7 acres associated with it. So the minimum pole portion that where it meets down on a public right of way is 30 feet. So in this case, they do exceed that by almost 50 feet associated with it. The maximum for the pole is 500 feet. So that 467, they are under that. So they do meet the dimensional requirements associated with permitting of a flag lot. Flag lots are only heard by the planning commission. They do not go into the city council. So assuming there's a positive action on this evening, staff would then finalize the lot split and give that paperwork back to the applicant, who in turn then files it with St. Louis County.
Thank you very much for that, Eric. Commission members, any questions for Eric at this moment? Any comments on this?
In looking at the GIS mapping on this, it appears that the entire portion of that, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Shannon, I don't believe, do you have a question as a member of the public this evening?
Oh, okay. I'll wait.
I'm sorry. Does anybody have any other questions for Eric or any comments on this? Before I open it up for public discussion?
No questions.
Okay, I do like the fact that it's a really wide at the pole.
Yeah.
It makes it really nice for pushing in utilities and driveways and stuff.
Yes, exactly. Sometimes we get questions on snow storage and how does that really work out? So
Right.
This is one of the probably better examples of a flag lot application that we've had here.
Oh, I agree completely. Okay, that being said, we will open up the floor for public discussion on 5C. It's currently 7:14. Does anybody here want to come up and speak on this matter this evening?
My name is Chris Raret. I'm a neighbor. I would like to speak up.
Hi, Chris. Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate the commission opening this up, sending the letter. My first question is, when this is subdivided, is the idea that this would be just one lot for one house, or could this be a subdivision with many houses? Again, I'm a neighbor. I can see the property over there. We bought our house because it was in the middle of the woods, and now there's a subdivision coming. So would like to understand the nature of what's intended for this.
Sure. Could you help me out with your address, please?
Yep, I'm at 4020 Stebner Road.
Gotcha. Thank you. Eric, would you give us a little clarification on this?
Sure, exactly. This application has come in as a subdivision lot split for a flag lot. And as part of that, the city has stipulations that this can only be used for a single family home. If this would have been presented to us as a planned unit development, there could have been that opportunity to do that. But since this is a simple flag lot split that way, this is for a single family home. They could not do a twin home or duplex or anything back there. Once again, specifically for a single family home.
Thank you for that clarification. I hope that answers your question, sir. Did you have any others?
I did. So just to follow up, so that would just be one single family home.
That is correct.
Okay, great. And then is there any consideration on the property value associated with neighboring properties?
I'm definitely not a tax assessor for the county. I'm sorry.
So no then.
That is correct.
Okay. And then what is kind of the ability precedence of this council to approve or deny?
I can help out a little bit with that. The way the city ordinance is written is that the Planning and Zoning Commission has the authority to either approve or deny flag lot applications. This does not go onto the city council. What it does is there are stipulations written from a dimensional standpoint, what minimum standards are associated with the flag lot. This property has represented this evening, both between what's called the parent property on parcel A, as well as the parcel B, which is the flag lot. Both these exceed the minimums of the R3 zoning district.
And then one last follow up. I mean, do you see this as being, you know, dropping the tax liability of the parent property to make it more appealing?
Well, I understand the way that the St. Louis County looks at this is they value a house structure as well as they value the land associated with it. So this particular property, since the fact they're going to remove or carve out 7 acres from the parent property, their property values will go down some just because they have less acreage. Obviously, St. Louis County values land much differently than they do structures that way. So once again, you know, parcel A, yes, there'll be a partial reduction in their tax or the value of it just because they have less land. But they're creating a new 7-acre parcel, which once again, once that a single family structure is built on that, that will probably almost double the existing taxes that are currently paid on that property as it is today.
Sure. And then is this property, I mean, is the idea like they're gonna do the separation, you know, get the new lot and then sell all of it as an investment? I'm just trying to understand like the benefit to the community.
Now, what it is once again, that the minimum lot size in an R3 district is 100 feet of road frontage and a ½ acre in size. If you have more than that, you as a property owner have the ability to subdivide the property, assuming you can meet minimum requirements. And in this case, with the flag lot, which the city enacted in 2016, it does exceed those minimum requirements. So as a benefit to the community, is this brings another potential source of taxes to our city. As part of this, they're required to pay $1,100 towards park dedication, which goes towards our park system as well, in the creation of our trails, parks, et cetera, that way. So those are some potential values that you look at from at least a community standpoint. But once again, as a property owner, they are within their rights per our ordinance to be able to do this.
Okay, I appreciate the opinions of the commission. Thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Shannon, did you have anything this evening?
Yes, I do. I just have a couple of questions. First of all, in the application documents in the agenda packet, I think there may be a mistake in there in that it indicates that the property owner intends to sell parcel B with the new owner retaining the existing home. And I believe parcel B is actually the vacant lot. And so I believe that should be that they intend to sell parcel A with the new owner retaining the existing home. So that's just a point of clarification and possible correction there. And then my other question is regarding the actual flag or the pole portion of the flag lot. It appears from looking at the Hermantown GIS mapping that the entire pole portion that abuts Stebner Road is wetlands. And so I have some concerns about what the process is, or what the ability is to actually be doing filling in that area when it appears to be wetlands.
I'll help with that. Shannon, Eric Johnson here. This applicant did engage MSA Professionals, which has wetland delineation services. We are out there as what's called the technical evaluation panel. That's myself as the city. It is St. Louis County Soil Water Conservation District, as well as the Board of Water and Soil Resources. We reviewed the wetland delineation for this property this spring and did approve the delineation. Once again, any property owner has that ability to impact up to 10,000 square feet of wetland on their property, or 5% of the total wetland on site, whichever is less. So what that requires is that if they sell this land and someone wants to develop it in the future, any impacts, mostly for the driveway, would have to have a separate application that comes through that technical evaluation panel for these impacts. So they would either qualify what's known as wetland de minimis exemption. That's when you fall into that 10,000 rule. Or if it's greater than that, then they'd be required to purchase wetland credits through a bank, a wetland bank. And that's something that's reviewed not only from the technical evaluation panel, but also the Corps of Engineers who ultimately signs off on these things. So
Great, thank you.
there is a process to go through should there be wetland impact.
Sure. Great, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Eric, thanks for the clarification and the help. Does anybody have any other questions on this now that we've expressed a little bit of information? Commission members, any final questions or comments for anybody on this 5C this evening? Not hearing any, I look for a motion on 5C.
Simmons with a motion to approve.
Luckily with that was for approval.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Can we get a second?
Winslow, second.
Thank you very much, Beth. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Not hearing any. 5C passes. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to 5D. It's an application this evening by JP Holding Company LLC for a preliminary planned unit development for a 108 unit apartment building on 13-acre site at an undisclosed Maple Grove Road address. The property is located in an R3 zoning district. Eric, what do you have for us on this one?
Great, thank you. Quick clarification, it's actually 103 units.
Okay.
108, and I do have a typo in there. I said 107, so we're all over the board, but it is 103.
103.
units is what it is for this evening.
Thank you for that.
Sure. So what the applicant is looking for this evening, they currently own the 10 acres, which is adjacent to the property on kitty corner from City Hall here. It's a long linear site that has the city's trunk sanitary sewer line on it. The applicant has owned that property for well over a year. What they have now done as well is they've entered into a purchase agreement with the adjoining property to the east to purchase the rear 3 acres of that 5-acre parcel. So all told, they're looking at a 13-acre parcel here for this. The property owner is proposing what's known as the Arbors of Maple Grove. Once again, it's a 103 unit, it's a 4-story apartment building. The site is currently undeveloped, with the topography generally rising from the south to the north. It contains a mixture of trees and open grassland area. The trunk sanitary sewer, as I mentioned, runs along the western boundary of that 10-acre parcel. And adjacent to that, for the most part, there's some wetland that runs approximately 400 or 500 feet into that site. So what the applicant is proposing to do is to run a 66-foot wide public right-of-way that would run quite a bit into that property in order to be able to serve this 103 unit apartment building. The city would require that 2 things, not only that the applicant dedicate the remaining 66-foot right-of-way as it continues to the northerly property line, but they also have monies in escrow or an agreement with the city that when the time comes that property to the north ever develops, that they would continue that roadway to the north. And that would allow for an eventual connection over to Levake Road. Now, there is a property owner that owns quite a bit of land to the north of that, which spans all the way over to Getchell as well. So that could basically extend the city's interior roadway system for this portion of the city that way. The 103 units, there's a combination of both interior parking spaces as well as surface parks. There's 92 basically under building parking spaces, and then 97 on the surface parks for a total of 189 units or city parking spaces. The 4-story building, it's going to be 42 feet above grade. The way the topography works, generally that parking level kind of sits down in the grade that way, so it is partially hidden from the ground plane that way. To help you out, under our PUD ordinance that we spent quite a bit on earlier this year, we have a 35-foot maximum height, but you do have the ability to go 20% above that, should you have additional landscaping and setbacks associated with this. The applicant's proposing a 60-foot side yard setback as a minimum. That's on the eastern side. So that's almost 1.5 times the height of the proposed building that way, 42 feet. In addition, they're looking at different conifer trees and keeping quite a bit of the natural topography associated with it on that side. What they're looking at is the building will consist of approximately 71 bedroom units and 33 2-bedroom units for it. As I mentioned before, the city spent, and in particular this group, spent a lot of time on a new PUD ordinance. And just to try to provide more guidance, not only for applicants coming to the city, but also to provide more information, both from a staff standpoint, as well as planning commission and city council to review these different documents. So I'll go through some different things and how this application relates to that. One of the criteria was if a particular project exceeded 4 units per acre or 5 acres total, that it required that you had to split the process, that you had to have 2 separate applications, a preliminary and then a final. In the past, the way the PUD ordinance was written is you could combine the preliminary and the final. So in that case, there only would have been 1 meeting associated with this. So in this case, since they're required to have separate meetings, that there will be multiple meetings, both at the planning commission as well as the city council associated with it. Also, one of the things that we spoke about was the need for a traffic memo associated with a project of lots greater than 4 acres. The applicant is working or has worked with a traffic engineer out of the cities who has provided a traffic memo associated with this. I have sent that memo on to St. Louis County and their traffic engineer for their review as well. What we've done, because since this development is proposing to share the same driveway or roadway with the adjacent property, which has 110 units of senior housing, which were approved about 2 years ago. Once again, they're accessing that one same point that way. So that memo does take into account this proposed building at 103 units, as well as that future assisted living at 110 units that way. Both Maple Grove Road as well as Levake are county roads. So once again, we would look at the county's traffic engineer for any guidance associated with this. This property and projects area has been looked at quite a bit in the past when it was known as the Pillars of Hermantown, when that was a larger assisted living type of facility that way. St. Louis County was okay. That was a total of 137 units with that. They were not indicating that there is going to be any need for any additional turn lanes, et cetera, going into that site. But we will still go back and work with St. Louis County on any comments that they may have for this. A big part of our PUD ordinance as well was the addition of basically amenities associated with the site. What we did quite a bit with that PUD ordinance is start to lay out some different ideas, what on-site amenities could be. And in this case, the applicant's proposing not only an internal trail system, which will eventually connect to the citywide trail system to the north, But they also have a sidewalk system, which will then link down to Maple Grove Road and that existing sidewalk over there. In addition to that, there's also a dog run area, a community garden for the apartment residents, a play structure, and a pavilion associated with that as well. The proposed location of this building, there's really very little wetland impacts associated with this. There's just a couple small crossings where they get into the parking lot area. Actually, Mr. Wickland, is it possible to, I'm sorry, you have it up right there. Thank you. My monitor is not working, that's why. So in regards to setbacks in the PUD process as well, the city code allows for a planned unit development that standards that meet the city's goals for each proposed development. So what we do as part of, once again, the PUD process as well, is we look at how does this building, the facility relate to its adjoining neighbors that way. So the proposed structure, the apartment structure, it's located 370 feet from the western property line, 60 feet from the eastern property line, and that to the east, it just continues into a large wetland complex. So there's no existing structures over there right now. There's an average of, it's 180 feet from the northerly property line and an average of 490 feet from the southerly property line. The way that property is shaped. Now, Mr. Wickland, can you show the next graphic that has more of a context? Thank you. And is there a way to rotate that? I don't know if there is or not. But in this case, thank you. Maple Grove is located at the bottom of the page. You can see that long roadway coming into the site. Adjacent to that is that existing wetland complex and existing trees associated with that. That corner parcel listed, I believe it's 5097 Maple Grove Road. That's where that assisted living was approved a couple years back that way. The planned unit development ordinance does allow for the setting of site-specific setbacks. Once again, whether it's front and rear yard setbacks, getting you some parking requirements that way, as well as structures heights as well. The applicant is with us this evening. Actually, I'm going to add a couple more things here too. Once again, getting back to the context and how this relates to the surroundings that way. The proposed building, once again, it's approximately 600 feet from Maple Grove Road. As I said before, is an average of 490. As you can see, there's a little bit of a notch located down in that southeastern corner. The approximately 1,000 feet from LeBake Road, and then the two nearest residential structures are 520 feet to the home, which is located at 4134 LeBake Road, and that's the property that would be subdividing. So that that property owner obviously is aware of this because they'd be selling the property that way. And it's 420 feet from the home that's located at 5061 Maple Grove Road. So actually I flipped that around. Sorry about that. Yeah, exactly. So I'm selling my property. No, 5061 is the property that's actually subdividing. 4134 is an existing property there on the Lake Road. I apologize for that. So this evening, the applicant is with us as well as a representative. They are available to answer any other questions that you may have associated with this. From at least the staff standpoint, many of the goals that, once again, this planning commission had worked on, and that in the revamping and reworking of the PUD ordinance are met as part of this proposed development that way. There's quite a bit of land associated with this. There's 13 acres. It's a single structure. We have setbacks that greatly exceed any sort of other underlying zoning that way as well as distance from existing properties that way, as well as a use of a site that generally is hard to do because, once again, you're encumbered by a sanitary sewer easement. The nature of this property being more linear that way, it works well with that. And then once again, a power line easement on the north portion of the site as well. So that concludes my staff report, and let's open it up for any questions from the commission at this point.
Thank you very much, Eric. Commission members, any questions for Eric on this? Or comments?
I have one. The assisted living that's neighboring obviously doesn't have very many cars. People there are not going to be. With this, with rough math, we're talking over 200 possibility of cars with one bedroom, because legally you can have two people and each person could have a car. In that traffic study, have you seen it? Does it
Actually, I have it
fit?
right here, and just to help out, maybe answer
Good.
any of the questions. So the apartment at 103 units, I'm going to read the AM peak hour, PM peak hour, as well as daily trips. Entering into that apartment, projecting 10 trips under the AM peak hour and 27 exits under the AM peak. Under the PM peak, they're looking at 28 trips into that site and 17 exiting the site. They're looking at daily trips of 560 into that apartment, 13-acre site that way. From the assisted living, that 110 units, once again, that's a different type of use
Right.
that way. More or less, the daily trips coming in and out of there are more staff than they are actual residents that way. Very similar on the AM peak, 10 trips in, but only 5 trips out. And then PM trips, 7 trips in and 11 trips out, looking at 264 daily trips for that. So between these two facilities that way, looking at 824 total trips per day. Once again, this information has been sent on to St. Louis County and their traffic engineer.
Thank you for that.
I just make a note here, because the building is going to be 4-story. It exceeds the 35-foot level. And you're indicating that because of the additional setbacks and or landscaping that's allowed. Is there going to be specific landscaping that would cover that elevation then, that?
Not for that height, but what we would do is this is a preliminary application at this time, so it's more conceptual in nature. So assuming this keeps moving through the process, that staff would work with the applicant, is there potential for some berming over there, planting of some larger conifer trees that way? Right off the bat, are you going to screen a 42-foot height building with landscape? No, you're not. No, you're not going to. But what they've done is the way they've tried to site this, as well as keep quite a bit of that existing landscape in place, that there's quite a bit of mature trees on that site already.
Okay.
So not only a combination of existing trees, but what can be done, once again, site berming, some potential evergreen trees as well.
Commission members, any other comments or questions on this?
And Eric, I had a question in regards to the new PUD ordinance that we had created. Neighborhood meetings were recommended or mandatory? I see they're
recommended.
recommended. I see they're considering one prior to the city council meeting.
That is correct.
Okay.
And the applicant might be able to shed some more information on that as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question as well. Eric, this roadway going in that you said could be extended with the property to the north, is it a city street or driveway?
That will be a city street with a 66-foot right of way and a 28-foot wide driving surface.
And who will plow that?
When the city takes it over, we will. I've talked to Public Works, and they're comfortable with that layout the way it is, and not the need for a hammerhead or a turnaround. Exactly. They believe that the way that parking lot is configured, they can turn the plow around in that area back out.
All right. And the rest of that 66-foot right of way would be deemed a right of way and easement that.
That is correct. We would get that at the very beginning. Yeah. So, and once again, have an agreement. The city has done agreements, whether it's utility or some roadway extensions with applicants that way. So,
Utilities, would they be extended all the way now or just to the end of the pavement?
this one would be the end of the pavement, but we'd have that same agreement in place that way. Okay. But the sanitary sewer, they have the ability to connect directly into that sanitary sewer main. So really just do the extension of water main into the site.
On the pillar site, the 264 turns in of daily trips. Was that access off of Maple Grove the only one, or wasn't there
They have one at LeVake as well. Yes.
That's what I recall. So that will help ease that point.
That is correct, yes.
Okay, that's good. I like what was done with the trails. I think I was gonna ask about the trails, but, and how will this proposed loop that they're showing here connecting to what might be done as a more public or,
Well, we foresee,
city-like trail?
exactly, we foresee a stub leading to the north that way. With some conceptual alignments as we go through that area, what is it runs from, from City Hall over to Stebner. And what we do is we have a stub linking up to that.
It was my editorial comment. I think we all worked hard at that new ordinance. And I think some of the things we talked about site amenities, trails, pavilions, dog parks, et cetera, I think were nicely done there. So kudos to, I think, the developer and the commission for working on this plan.
So
The first one, anyway. So those are my thoughts and comments.
Thank you, Counselor Geisler.
just one other question. It appears that the road, there's one way in, one way out. There's not an exit and an entrance then, is that right, the way this is?
Yeah, right now it's
Right now.
it's a single road in, exactly, but that's why the city's requiring that in a future date that this will connect up to the north and eventually
Right.
to Levake Road.
But right now, that's not in the plan.
No, not right now, exactly. But what we're doing is we're setting it up that we have the right of way, we have that ability to get that future connection in there. Once again, there's, the property owner to the north. Someday they'll be coming to the city about some potential development, because once again, they own quite a bit of land between Levake and Getchell. And there's the opportunity that this would, be part of the spine system, off between Levake and Maple Grove that way, hooking over to Getchell potentially.
And there's not a concern with that many people living there, just having one access?
At this point, no. And like I said, that's a big reason that we send this to St. Louis County, because they're the ones that, at least from the traffic standpoint,
Mhm.
and they look at it from the, their safety standpoint as well.
Okay.
This is part of the PUD as well, is this has been sent to police department, fire department, to superintendent of schools, as well as I mentioned, the St. Louis County traffic that way. There's no plat associated with this, so it did not go to the St. Louis County surveyor's office.
Commissioner members, any other questions or comments? I've got two, I think. That future road extension to the north, where do you see that connecting back over when it comes west? Just north of the power lines?
North of the power lines.
Okay,
But part of it is too, is, would we have the ability to potentially use that power line area? You could,
right,
because obviously you can't build under it.
right.
Be negotiations with Minnesota Power, who owns that.
And then my other question is, are you able to do all the amenities under the power lines like that? Like the walking path and that kind of stuff is located underneath there. I think there's a stormwater pond under the,
The stormwater pond that's what potentially the applicant's consultant might be able to answer that, because that's one of the things, questions that we pose back to them as well, is to verify their ability to do that.
okay,
Because traditionally, once again, as we talked about the impound lot earlier, you can have parking lots under there, the trails are fine that way. How are they going to view the stormwater? Is that a structure per se, or is that something that Minnesota Power would allow?
well, we'll ask the applicant, I guess. Can we have the applicant please come on up, state your name and address for the record? Come on up. Welcome.
Well, she can answer the traffic question.
Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
James Delego, 106 South, 15th Avenue East, Duluth.
Thank you very much. And can I get your name and address?
Trish Pico, representing JPJ Engineering.
Okay,
We are also located in Hermantown, but I don't live there. If that's what you would like. We're at 5670 Miller Trunk Highway.
thank you very much.
So your question, structures under the power lines?
Yes, that's one of my questions.
Go ahead, Trish.
Okay. The stormwater proposed in there would not be a structure per se. It would be more of a filtration basin. So just filtering any stormwater that came on and then cleaning it out before it's released naturally into the wetlands that are already under the power line. just protecting the wetlands is what I would want to be doing. We may not even need that. The full stormwater plan is not complete on this
Okay.
as far as the runoff goes. So we may not need that. That was just one possible area if we needed it.
Gotcha. My question was basically if it could be done in the power line easement at all, I guess.
I believe so.
Okay.
As long as it's not a structure, not
And we would require documentation and
Right.
approval by Minnesota Power. As
Gotcha.
part of that, once again, assuming it makes it to that stage,
Yep.
so.
right.
Okay.
And then to address I don't know if we can go to some of the other images that were attached that show the building, but there should be berming showing on there. Did we get those in there? Keep scrolling, Mr. Wickline. Keep going, please. There, thank you. So if you can see the full height of the structure at the entrance to the building, that's where you can see the full 4 stories, but then we're gonna propose berming up a half story to reduce that building height
Okay.
in most areas. So just where you're gonna enter the building at the parking lot entrance and at the building entrance, that's the only place it would be that full 42 feet. Otherwise, we'd use landscaping, actual earthen berms to cut off a half story, which would be about 5 to 6 feet. So then you're getting closer to that 35 feet.
Gotcha.
It's essentially, it's a reverse walkout because of our grade there. So we're walking out the underground parking and putting our lobby on the underground parking level. So, and then berming around it. So it's not
Gotcha.
truly 42. It'll be under 40 by the time we get our berming.
Sure, you'll be averaging less than 40.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Commission members, any other questions for the applicant this evening? I think those are my only questions. I think it was a nice use of the land, staying out of the wetlands. You did an excellent job. It's a neat project.
After 10 tries, I think this is.
Oh, I do have one other question that just came to mind. Your amenities on site, would those be open to the public if the public trail had access to your site?
Yes.
Okay,
And especially to the neighboring property so that they wouldn't have to cross any of the busy roads, especially if there's anybody that's of limited needs, they could easily use just that trail system.
sure. So if the city trail made its way by there, you could walk on your trail or whatever your internal stuff is. Okay,
It works for the seniors as well.
absolutely. I can see that. Those two sites would work together.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Maybe if I can ask one point of clarification as well. This is a market rate apartment versus assisted living or senior housing.
That's correct.
Okay.
Market rate park.
Thank you.
perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else want to come and speak on this evening? If you do, all you gotta do is come up, state your name and address for the record. We'll try and answer any questions for you. Come on up. Can you please wait till you get to the microphone?
My name is Jamie LePage. I live at 4071 Levake Road.
Okay,
The entrance that comes off of Maple Grove and heads north into that apartment complex appears to be sited right on top of the city sewer. Is that a normal way of building?
Yes, we've done that before. For instance, our new trail that we built, that's on top of the sanitary sewer as well. So we do that.
So I got charged $10,000, $10,400 back in 2002 to put that thing in along Levake Road. So you're telling me the best way to protect it is to build a road over it, which you'll probably have to charge the taxpayers more money to fix it in the future if it becomes a city road? I don't see that as a good idea to build over our infrastructure like that with tar and curbs. So think that one through. The next thing is that road, the distance from the stop sign back down to that road. How many of you drive on Maple Grove every day during any traffic period?
every day.
So you know that most of the time when there's any high traffic period at all, which is like daylight hours, traffic's backed up past that drive. So no matter how many entrances people have to make in and out of there, what do you think that means for the ability for people to pull in or pull out?
And that's why we do send this to St. Louis County, who both these roads are, and they would say, is there a need for an excel or decel lane associated with this into the site? So that's when we send it out to them.
I understand they get counts, hourly counts, I understand the road studies. What I don't understand is the common sense part. If you put a time lapse video camera there and watch, you're going to realize that driveway won't be accessible parts of the day. So think that through, just asking them. Additionally, when you put in that road over there and you're eventually going to connect it to the other property over here to Levake Road, you know that there's no ditch line, no walking lane, nothing over there. Just like we went through when we talked about the other property that's being developed there. One thing you might want to consider is the people that already live here have to dodge people walking down that road constantly. Not to mention the access of people who come out of this building property onto that road. Specifically, fire department, a few other departments that operate out of here have to watch out for that additional road traffic. Without any improvements, it's going to be a problem. It already is. Also, I would like to at least bring up the fact that over the time that the traffic patterns have increased in this area, I've only lived here 22 years. I haven't lived here my entire life, but I've watched it develop. In this intersection, I've seen no less than 18 traffic accidents at that intersection. Why do I keep count? Well, somebody has to. In Hermantown, no less than 3 people have been killed on our road since 2012, either bicycling or walking. I don't know how many of you know those statistics, or if the city even keeps track of it. Increasing traffic is a big issue. All I'm interested in is that you at least look at it and consider it. Because I really don't want to be out on the road again, trying to help somebody or pick them up off the road after they've been hit by a vehicle. Done that too much already. That's all I have to say.
In this response, that's why we engage a traffic engineer, the consultant has, as well as our city engineer, as well as the county engineer who's a traffic engineer. So all 3 of those people, professionals in their field, weigh in on this.
Sure. Thank you for that, Eric. Thank you for your words this evening, sir, as well. Does anybody else want to come up and speak this evening? Come on up. Please state your name and address for the record once you get up to the microphone.
My name is Randy LePage. I live at 4071 Levake Road. I was at this meeting, or I was at a planning meeting for the other building that was discussed. I think that is a very, very high density residential, actually commercial use of land in a neighborhood that it is not consistent with. There are a lot of single family homes. There's some duplexes and there are some other buildings around. There is also the city hall that is nearby where we are today. There's also the fire department, the police department, a lot of governmental entities that keep things going in this area. That is not a place that you want to tie up traffic. If my house is on fire, I want to make sure that that fire department is able to respond. Having that much density there and that many vehicles coming in and out, I am concerned that that would not be the case. I brought this to you guys' attention back when we were talking about an assisted living facility, which was originally going to be a bunch of apartments. Same thing, lot of people, a lot of vehicles going in and out. And these are just 2 streets that I go through every single day on my way to work. I don't want to double my commute time. Thank you very much. I don't think that this is the right place in the city for this kind of housing. I really think that that needs to be a little bit further away where there is more room for vehicles to move in and out. I thank you very much for your consideration on this.
Thank you, ma'am. Would anybody else like to come up and speak this evening? We welcome everybody. Not seeing any, we'll close the floor at 7:54 in the evening.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I would like to speak. I'm online with you.
Sorry, I just see one person on the camera system. You must just be calling in.
No, I've been here the whole meeting time.
I just can't see you on my screen. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, it's Michael Copy, 5124 Beaver Creek Road.
Thank you.
And I would like to, sort of echo the same thing, that I think this density is way too high for that property. When the Pillars development was in front of you guys and in front of the council, and I don't know if you remember, but we had over 100 residents opposed to that because it was a 4-story structure. And now you come back with the same kind of structure, a 4-story structure, and you're just asking to pack that room again with residents that are opposed. It seems like you're not listening to the residents. There's just no way that the density and the 4-story height belongs in this area. And all you have to do is go back and look at your history a year ago when the Pillars were, or maybe it's longer now, a year and a half ago, when the Pillars were here. And that was one of the main contentions, was the height of that building. And they did then change it and brought it down to 3 stories, and they lowered the density of that whole property development. And that's the same thing that needs to happen here. Otherwise, you're going to have that next council meeting packed again with a lot of angry residents from this area. And I'll guarantee that. So please listen to the residents of the area of Hermantown. They've planted their roots here. They have a lot invested in here. So we shouldn't let one investor come in and change the whole environment that we are living in this area. It shouldn't work that way. You should be listening to the residents that are surrounding this property and how do they feel about it. And they've already spoken. So please listen to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Shannon, did you have anything this evening?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any comments or questions on this evening? Not hearing any, we'll reclose the floor at 7:57 p.m. Commission members, any questions or comments on this evening?
The Pillars project, that really ended up to be an underground parking with 3 stories above, correct?
That is correct, yes.
I believe that's what this new proposal is underground parking with 3 stories above.
Essentially, yes, it's about maybe like 3.5, according to the applicant that way, but very similar that way. And then some more important clarification on the last comments is this proposed building, as you mentioned, is 1,000 feet away from the bay. There's 8 or 10 homes, maybe that directly abut this area per se. So and the fact that it's located on 2 county roads, that's one of the big things that we look at in these contexts as part of our revised PUD ordinance. So like I said, 1,000 feet from Lake, over 600 feet from Maple Grove, located on 2 county roads out there. And once again, 8 or 10 homes at most that directly abut these properties that way.
We have a request from the online meeting to repeat John's question and Eric's answer because it was not able to be heard.
My mic wasn't on. My question was to compare the 2 buildings, the Pillars project with this project. My recollection is that they're very similar in building style, that being a on-grade parking structure with 3 stories of housing above.
Yes, and that's what I said to respond to Mr. Geisler, is that is correct, that at the Pillars, they're primarily, once again, underground parking. Along the backside, there is some exposure of that underground parking with 3 stories above. That's actually a pitched roof structure on that one, where this is a flat roof that's in front of us. And then I said further, just looking at the context and overall relationship to neighbors that way, this building, proposed building, is set back 1,000 feet from LeBake Road, a little over 600 feet from Maple Grove Road. And there's approximately 8 to 10 homes that directly really abut this corner per se, that it's located on 2 county roads. It's not adjacent to a neighborhood development per se, but rather some individual single-family homes, which are still residents, obviously, of our community that way. But it's, once again, directly abutting, 8 to 10 homes at max that way.
Thank you for that.
Sam Clark, just a couple comments, I guess, for tonight. I guess one, I originally, when this was proposed, and the memory care unit, I did have some reservations with the 2 county roads, just with the city's lack of being able to do any traffic control. And then as just a volunteer on the commission, I don't, I guess, foresee any issues with the plan per se. I would be interested just in, public input after this goes from a preliminary into more of a city council situation or something like that. So I guess at this point, just with the preliminary approval, I would be interested to see where it goes.
Thank you for that.
And for a point of clarification for me as well, Eric, does this fit within all of our new PUD requirements? Are there any variations that they're having at this point to skirt or move, or is it fits within everything that we have now put forth?
It does meet within that, as I laid out initially, as procedural standpoint, they've been following that. Design standpoint, they're following that. So yes, that really meets the spirit of our revised PUD ordinance that we have.
And we did that to protect the community. I mean, that was why we spent so much time with it, was to protect the community, even though it's tough to think of 103 units going in that location, but it does protect the community in the ways that we had worked with, so.
Actually, it's over 200 between these projects, right next door to each other.
But they are separate projects, right?
Commission members, any other questions or comments? Not seeing any. I look for a motion on 5D this evening for a preliminary plan unit development for JP Holding LLC.
I make a motion to accept this because it does fit all of the criteria at this point.
Thank you very much for that. Can we get a second?
Simmons with a second.
Thank you for that. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Not hearing any this evening. 5D moves on. And again, it's a preliminary thing. They have to come back again. They have to go to the city council. You're welcome to come back and speak on it again.
Yes, to help everyone out is not only this one this evening, but also the 2 special use permits. These will be at the December 6th city council meeting, 6:30 at City Hall in the same room.
Thank you for that, Eric. Moving on, continuing business. I don't see any. Number 7, new business. Again, I'm not seeing any. 8, any communications? Not seeing any again. Number 9, commission member reports. Valerie Olet,
No report.
Samuel Clark,
No report.
Beth Wenslow,
No report.
Buckley Simmons,
No report.
Counselor Geisler.
I always have something.
I knew you would.
I think we maybe talked about this before, but we've had the same city attorney for over 40 years, and Mr. Overham. And he is stepping back a little bit from his practice. He's still going to be assisting the city with some duties, but the city attorney is a associate of Mr. Overham, Gunnar Johnson. Some people remember that name. He did work for the city of Duluth in the similar capacity. So starting the first of the year, Gunnar Johnson will be our new official city attorney, but he is still representing Overham Law. So you may hear that name over the next, we used to talk about, we have to check with the city attorney. So, but Gunnar Johnson moving forward will be our official city attorney. And the city went through a vetting process of RFPs and interviews and whatnot, and he seemed like a great fit. And Mr. Overham will still be working along with him and representing HEDA and a few other special projects that he'll be working on. So I think that's it.
Thank you, sir. Myself, nothing this evening. We look for a motion to adjourn. It's 8:05.
Simmons with a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Can I get a second?
Second, Willett.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll close this evening's public hearing at 8:05 PM. Thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate you coming out.
Do we think we'll have a